We are celebrating 1,000 subscribers on the morning of our 1-year anniversary, which is wild.
Wow. We are so excited about this episode because we're going to go on a little journey about what God has been doing even in the past 6 months. Yo, what is up, guys? This is the Caleb and Claudia YouTube channel. Grace podcast listeners, thanks for listening as well. We'll have a little bit of fun today. Gonna go down. Tipped off my coffee.
Listen, we're trying to be aesthetic right now and have coffee like you having coffee with us, but we are the most clumsy people in the world. So
literally.
And we're not in our space. So if you haven't noticed, if you've been watching the channel, this is clearly a different setting.
Yeah.
But that's what we're going to tell you a little bit about today.
Exactly.
Without spilling our coffee on the carpet. That's not ours.
We are so excited about this episode because we're going to go on a little journey about what God has been doing even in the past 6 months.
This is something to celebrate, but we are celebrating 1,000 subscribers. And it's crazy because we actually hit 1,000 subscribers on the morning of our 1-year anniversary, which is wild. So the night before, our YouTube channel was like at 960 or 970 subscribers. And then the next morning on our anniversary, we woke up and it was at 1,000 subscribers. And so honestly, if you are here and if you have subscribed and if you have followed, whether from the beginning or maybe you just found us, whatever the case may be, we just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for just supporting. But ultimately, we pray that this has been a blessing to you. We want to love God and we want to love people well. Yeah. And so we're just trying to be obedient to what the Lord has called us to do. And we're just so grateful even for the testimonies that have come in and just like how God is speaking to people, encountering people, whether they've written it in the comment section or I've gotten more DMs than anything, personal DMs about ways that God has spoken to certain people or ways that God has ministered and encountered hearts. And so we're just like, man, God, if it's just for that,
that's right.
Like, we just thank you for it. And so we're going to invite you, though, into some of our journey, whether you are maybe praying about a YouTube channel, but even if it has nothing to do with YouTube, and if this could be an encouragement for something that God has put on your heart and that he is calling you to do, we hope that our journey and what God has called us to do will
spur you on and encourage you to step out and do what God has called you to do. Even starting from the beginning, as we share some of our journey, I remember I was in Atlanta. I've always been in the creative space. I've always been around media. I've always had a heart for media. I would even go to movies and dissect the actors' parts and see how they're engaging in the film. So
you've always been in the music space.
Always been in the music space.
You were traveling.
Yeah, always been in the creative and media space.
In the music scene a ton,
100%. But I'd never had this thing where I was like, okay, I'm going to start a YouTube channel or I'm going to go and do a podcast. Like I'd never had that until God started to speak to me kind of in like 2021, 2022, 2023, even as of last year about stepping out and doing YouTube. And could you share a little bit about what God was doing with YouTube, babe?
Yeah. So honestly, it's crazy because when we were dating, we started seeing how like even the things that God had either had us in or was speaking to us about and our visions, like, which is another dating tip too. You want to talk about visions and if those things collide and coincide and are compatible with one another. So when we were having conversations about our future and what we feel called to do, all that kind of stuff, that's when the Lord really started kind of bringing in this vision about us doing a YouTube channel and podcast together. But my journey with the media space, I mean, honestly, I've always been a creative, have always loved the creative space. I used to do spoken word poetry and I've always loved to preach. And so, creativity in that way, dance and all that kind of stuff. But for the last decade, actually, the Lord was speaking to me through prophetic words or just things that he was putting in my heart about YouTube. Actually, what's crazy is this guy that I used to evangelize to in high school, he ended up giving his life to the Lord. And about 5-6 years ago or something, he gave me a prophetic dream that he had, that he saw that I was in front of a camera and encouraging people online about the Lord. And at the time, I was like, okay, I know, God, this is you again speaking about YouTube, but I'm just running from it. And he's also just put me inside of different ministries as a supportive role in the media space. So I was working full time as a creative director for the Altar Global and for Jeremiah Johnson's ministry. And so I was doing all the social media graphics and the reels and videos and learning how to do e-courses and all this kind of stuff. And it's just crazy because I felt like that was preparation too for us launching out into media ministry. And then fast forwarding, we get multiple words by Tori Harper, that one Altar Global revival service where I had a camera in my hand because I was photographing the service. And then he just starts prophesying. We'll go ahead and add the videos here.
The speed of what I'm about to do in you, you won't be able to catch it on a camera. You won't be able to catch it. It's going to come so fast where you're in a day, in an hour of acceleration. You're going to be able to say it better than you can show it. I hear the Lord saying, I'm causing your voice to be opened up. Oh, it's like you've pushed everybody else, but I hear the Lord saying, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Get ready, because I feel like this mantle of media and releasing your voice. The proclamation of the word of the Lord, that spirit of prophecy is about to come through you. And I hear the Lord saying, you're coming from behind the camera. In front, in front, in front, in front. Why y'all still so quiet? In front, in front, in front. And some of you, as she's shifting, some of your roles are shifting even now. Because there are things, Caleb, that you're called to birth. You're no longer going to stand at the doorway. Hey! I hear the Lord saying there's an exodus, but there's an entrance. A new season, a new time.
And then the second one was at another Altar Global conference. He called us out.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Could you come? Could you come? You have paid a high price. And you have willingly given me everything. And as a result, I'm about to return and restore and blow your mind in ways that you can never imagine. And while, yes, many know you as a drummer, many will know you as a prophetic voice, and many will know... And you've only played at the level of the capacity of your heart. It's almost as if when you play, God, if I could just express my full heart through the drums. And I hear the Lord saying it's going to start being limiting. It's going to almost start feeling like the drums is a limitation. Because of the high call that is on your life. And I see the Lord opening up an avenue where your voice will be heard, specifically in the area of media. And I think I said this to you maybe online, maybe a couple weeks or months ago rather, where I saw this documentary or a movie of your life. Like your story that's going to be told. And it's going to loose a provocation to a generation. Not only to run after God, but they're going to realize that God is real because of your testimony. There's a generation that is about to come in contact with a living flame because of the words that are in your mouth. And God says, I'm awakening the dreams of your heart in such a fresh way. I just see the word legacy and an active legacy. God's going to give you children in the natural and children in the spiritual. You guys are a model because you said, God, we want to do it your way and we want to do it the right way. Yo, there's so much anointing in this room. We got to stop because we got a session to come back to. Father, I'm asking for a media revival to break open from this couple. Father, that documentaries and movies would be birthed. Podcasts would be birthed through them. YouTube channel, give them a YouTube channel, God, that would shake the nation. Hey! Doing it God's way, doing it God's way.
Like God was literally having these markers along the way that was actually encouraging us. Hey, this is God ordained. Like I am calling you to do that. Sometimes people step out into things and God's not calling you to do it. You're doing it out of your own strength. And God, even now, it probably is bringing up some things in your mind where like, hold on, God has actually called me, or he gave me a word or a dream or something I wrote in my journal that God has given me. God will give you markers along the way. And that's what he did with us.
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, and we have a whole episode about this as well. I'll go ahead and link it up top. You can click on it, where we talked about this with our friends, Dom and Jenna. But a lot of times God will give us a prophetic word, or he'll speak to us about something, putting something in our heart, or using somebody to actually speak something into our hearts as a confirmation. And we think that, okay, God prophesied this, and so it's now. Yeah. But sometimes a prophetic word does lead to a process. And in our case, it was definitely a process. It was like a decade-long process of lots of wrestling and praying. And I think my biggest thing was that I didn't want to just start a YouTube channel or start doing a podcast because I didn't want to just start doing it just to start doing it. I wanted it to come from a pure place. And so I was constantly wrestling, almost like to a point where it maybe wasn't the best, because sometimes you can wrestle your way into disobedience. Yeah. And so I was at a point where I was just wrestling so much, processing this kind of stuff with leaders. And, maybe I should just stay hidden. There's too many voices online. Social media is so loud. There's so much noise. There's so many people trying to build a platform. And listen, God is always going to come after the motives of our hearts, 100%. At that point in 2023, where God was like pushing us off the ledge, even to the point of God putting it in people's hearts to sow into our YouTube channel. And it's crazy because, and I'll just mention this as the last part of like kind of our journey on how we got started, but I was just wrestling about what we were to do. And at that time, we were in the middle of praying into several different decisions. We were just engaged. We were praying about, where does God want us? Are we supposed to move? What church are we supposed to be a part of? And then all of a sudden, God just started opening up all these ministry doors. Yeah. And we were like, okay, now where are we going to be? Like, where is God calling us? We were at one point like, where are you, God? What are we doing? What's next? To like, all these doors started opening. And then you have to recognize which door is God and which one is not. And, God ended up leading us to our local church where we're at now, where Caleb is full-time staff. And what's so cool is that even how God led us to our local church, we knew that was also a confirmation on starting the YouTube channel. Because
me going into this full-time local ministry position, I was able to help my wife be freed up to actually do things with our channel and start and be obedient and put steps in place.
Going into and praying into all these decisions, a couple friend of ours, I actually had a dream that he gave me a check. And in the dream, I was like, why are you giving me this check? Why are you giving me this check? And then in real life, the next day we were all just hanging out and watching a movie. And then the husband comes downstairs and he hands me a check. And I'm just like in the dream. I was like, why are you giving me this check? Yeah. And he gives me this check and he says, this is for your YouTube channel. Like, go ahead and get started. Yeah. And God used them to really catapult us, because then they brought out a whiteboard and we started planning and writing everything down for the launch of the channel. And so it took God bringing even people like that, not just to give prophetic words, but that God's will really was God's bill. Like God began, and literally the studio set up all these mics. Like it was from that one check, you know? And so we were like, all right, God, it's time to get started.
I know. And so then now we're faced with the accountability of stewarding what God has called us to do, because 100%. Now people are sowing into what God is doing in our lives. So now what the ball's in our court, what are we going to do with it? And even as I want to encourage you is if you're just getting started and you're beginning this process, consistency is key. And engulfed in consistency is the mundane, right? So you're pressing record or whatever it is, whatever ministry thing it is, or whatever thing God's called you to do with your family, there is the mundane in it. And that's why you need a community. That's why you need a people that are going to push you. That person that gives you that or sows that seed is the one that probably is the one, pushing you. I know the couple that's in our lives, they're always, spurring us on and going, all right, even with them bringing out the whiteboard, it was an accountability to go, hey, you guys are called to do this. Sometimes you need people in your life to be that catapult, right? That catalyst to go, hey, I see what God has put in you. Let's get higher. Let's rise higher.
Yeah. There's that one term that it's like accountability. I think it's Chris Vallotton that says this, but that accountability doesn't just mean keeping an account of your disability, but it's
taking account of your abilities, what God has put inside of you, the gifts and the talents and the abilities that he has given you for the kingdom. It's an account of your ability. You need people in your life to spur you on that way. And consistency is key.
Even now we have like a little YouTube group chat or whatever with some other YouTuber friends of ours. And it is so encouraging. And you need people, whatever God has called you to do, it helps to have people around you that are building and are doing something that God has called them to do as well, to spur you on and to encourage you, because sometimes it does get a little tough and discouraging in the process.
That's right.
So.
And a lot of times, sometimes we can, a lot of times we are like Thomas's, where we can start doubting because of what we're seeing, right? We have to see things, and it's good. It's great to have vision and see, but sometimes we did an episode where it talks about your impressions being linked to your depression, right?
Oh my gosh, Mike
Signorelli and Pastor Mike Signorelli.
If Jesus is not the prize, if views are the prize, then your depression is going to be connected to your impressions.
Oh my. Okay, that needs to be like quoted.
And the reality is, when you're starting off, it may not look like this exponential growth. And so your confidence has to be in not how many views you're getting or how many people are tuning in to what God is doing in your life. It has to be the will of God sustaining you and bringing that energy for you to keep going. It has to be that. And I love what Jesus says in John 4:34. He says, the will of the Father. So he says, my food is to do the will of the Father. I kind of made it short, but my food is to do the will of the Father. My Father sent me. So what sustains me is the Father's will. If you're doing anything that God has called you to do, and you're in a place where like, I'm going to give up. I feel like I'm not having any impact. First of all, you have to go, what is my motive? Is it just to be seen by people, or is it to please the Father?
Yeah.
And the main ministry of Jesus was to please the Father. Guys, he is not coming back until the Father sends him. Till the Father says, you can go, son. So our main objective and our confidence has to be the will of the Father. And that's what sustained us, right, babe?
100%. Yeah, because the reality is, like, we're in the middle. I tell Caleb this all the time. I feel like we're just in a building season. We are building in every area of our life. And for you, it might look different, but for us, it's like new marriage,
A2000, EST, ABC, EDFG, HJK, LMNOP, QP. I'm about to pull up in it, make the owe me disappear. I got put up Jack, I don't gotta fear. Demon pull up, I'm like, we gon' get up out of here. Demon pull up, I'm like, we gon' get.
Take your vitamin so you don't get sick. Your multivitamin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bitches. learning how to be married to one another, and that's the first ministry.
100%.
Ultimately, that's more important than this. As much as we love doing this, as much as we love our responsibilities at the local church.
Yep.
It's like we're building our marriage,
Right.
you know, and our home and our environment. We're building at our local church.
Yeah.
We can complain all day. It's easy to complain. But when we set our face like foot towards the Lord and we get on our knees and we pray, God shifts things, guys.
What's happening this morning?
We have baptisms going on. I'm super excited. It's going to be a party in this house.
It's gonna be a party. Building this YouTube channel, and we're in a new city, we're in a new location, new church, new marriage, new season. Everything feels so new, and so we've had to figure out how to find our rhythm and how to find our pace. And a lot of times that has looked really, really practical. Like even just you see, this is a new space right now. We're actually at our wedding venue because we wanted to celebrate our 1 year, and so God just so happened to open up a door for this weekend. There wasn't a wedding happening here, so we're actually at our wedding venue right now, celebrating our 1 year, and now also celebrating 1,000 subscribers. But if you guys have seen the other background, you know, that's just in the living room of where we're living right now. And it's a small space, and we have to tear up and tear down and all that kind of stuff every time we record. And for us, it's just looked like, okay, what is going to be our rhythm for stewarding the YouTube channel?
100%.
What is going to be our rhythm for stewarding what God has entrusted us at our local body? What does it look like for us to steward our marriage, going on date nights? And so we've had to figure out a rhythm that works for us, and we can't measure success based on what other people are doing because they have another rhythm.
That's
and
right.
We've had to figure out with the Lord and with each other, asking each other tough questions. What is our rhythm and our pace? And what does faithfulness to God look like for us?
100%.
When we know before God and before one another and in our own conscience, we can say, okay, God, I know that I've been faithful because I've given you my all in this, and this is what my all looks like. No matter what season that you're in, no matter what pace or rhythm that you're in, consistency and stewardship bears fruit.
It does.
It bears fruit.
Yeah. Keep going. It's super simple. Keep going. Even the mom that is called to start a blog or something like that, and you have, you know, your kids and you're trying to steward life, do it. You know, and obviously discerning seasons is a key, which is a whole nother subject. But I do believe that when God has called you to do something and you have multiple factors, multiple markers like we had in our journey, God, you know, don't allow decision fatigue to stifle the will of God in your life.
100%.
Don't allow decision fatigue to stifle the will of God in your life, and just go. The value system that we go by at our church is know, grow, and go for Jesus. And so it's to know God, to grow in God, right? And to go for him. So if God has called you to do something, which he's called all of us to do something, be demonstrators, which is another actually episode that we had with Matt Cruz, we actually have to take action. We can't sit like big fat babies and sit through a bunch of Bible studies, sit through a bunch of church services and not do anything with it. We have to steward what God has given us and then be demonstrators. We can't just stop at Calvary and can't just stop at salvation. God is calling you to be a demonstrator of his kingdom.
Great man of God once said the world out there is not looking for a new definition of Christianity. They're looking for a new demonstration of Christianity. Aside from us knowing him, we're called to be continuators of the ministry of Jesus.
That's it.
What am I called to do? You're called to be a continuator.
God gave us everything through his son. And so now the ball is in our court. But to be demonstrators of his gospel, continuators of the gospel in every unique way that he's formed and fashioned us, you're called to go for Jesus, whether it's in the media space, whether it's in your writing, whatever it is.
Whether it's to your neighbor.
To your neighbor, whatever it is. And so I think our heart in our journey, as we're encouraging you, our fam on here, not just subscribers, but our family, we're encouraging you to keep on going, keep putting the hand to the plow and allowing the will of God to be your food to sustain you.
Yeah, I'm even just reminded of what the word says in Habakkuk 2:2, where it says, write the vision and make it plain. Write the vision and make it plain on tablets so that he may run who reads it. So it's looked a lot like getting in front of a whiteboard and writing things down and partnering with the Lord in prayer and dreaming with him. And when we feel like God has given us the blueprint and the strategy and like what is really on his heart ultimately, then we just write it down and we're like, all right, now we can run. We see the vision. We're going after it like a bullseye. And of course things can be adjusted or whatever the case may be, but it looks a lot like partnership with God, and we're learning. We're doing it daily. You know, we got in front of a whiteboard 2 weeks ago, and we're just dreaming with the Lord all over again. And
hopefully that like encourages you. We wanted to just go down like memory lane and be honestly grateful for the goodness of God. And so hopefully in you guys watching our process, and you've been with us through this whole process, some of you since day one, you've seen kind of some of the things, even adjustments that we've made and all of that. Like, it is okay. Like, the pressure is not on. The thing that you should be worried about, not even worried about, but encouraged about, is the will of God for your life, not for somebody else's life, but for your life. And guess what? When you are consumed and passionate about pleasing the Father, then everything that comes from that will be healthy.
Well, again, thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. Again,
thank you.
We don't see that as numbers or subscribers. We see that as an online family. And we're just so grateful that you're here. And maybe you're new here and you're just now coming along. We just want to say welcome. And we're just honestly so humbled by the Lord that he would entrust us with this. And we're just excited to see what else he does. It's going to be such an awesome journey. But we wanted to be able to record this even at our wedding venue, just remembering the goodness of the Lord over the last year of 100%. Being married, over the last 1,000 subscribers. 100%. And we're just excited for what this next year is even going to look like.
Yeah, we love you guys. Thank you so much for just tuning in. You guys are our online fam. You know, this channel exists to give biblical truth and purposeful wisdom for transformed living. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.